Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe. Welcome back on the channel. The day after for me is always important because after debriefing the game with emotions, we don't always give correct ratings. We are not really objective. It's important to review the game to be as objective as possible. Did my mind change after the game of yesterday? Not that much, I have to be honest, because it's unacceptable. What we did yesterday is unacceptable. So what we do is a mini recap of the game and players rating, summing up, and also thinking about the 5 remaining games. So just in a few seconds, what happened yesterday? I cannot call it again blackout, because blackout is something that happens once really in a while, in years. Is something that can happen to every team, and that happened to us after Milan. Bonucci, but a lot of players said we learned our lesson. What we see now is that we didn't learn it at all, because we did it again. Yes, after the disaster of Milan, after fearing too much Atalanta, where you have the excuse that is the team that is probably the most in shape, the most informed from Europe, where you are fearing them too much, you go playing versus Sassuolo, another team really dynamic with intensity that we knew that could create a lot of problems after to Juventus after 2 draws and 4 wins, their consecutive positive streak in Serie A. They were playing against Juve. Juve, they started the game, and you couldn't start even better, because all the fear versus Sassuolo looked to disappear from the first minute, and we were winning 2-0 after 10 or 11 minutes with the beautiful goal of Danilo after a corner kick, and then a beautiful goal of Higuain. We are there. We say, okay, we will go back to Torino now with 3 points. Really crucial 3 points, especially because Lazio did a 0-0. But no, after the 10 minutes, Juventus disappeared, and you saw that Sassuolo was taking the control over the game. They were playing better 20 minutes, and Chiellini started to suffer again from his calls too early. Yes, absolutely yes. Normally, the coach and the medical staff should know that, should anticipate that. They didn't, so responsibility on them, also on Chiellini, because you have to say that you are not ready, but he did. He preferred him over Rugani, and we will talk about that later. But collapse of Juventus, 2-1 at the halftime. There, instead of doing the changes, Sarri, no, he continued with the same team except Rugani over Chiellini. Disaster in 5 minutes. Another big blackout after Milan. We didn't learn our lesson. And 3-2 for Sassuolo after a free kick of Berardi and a tap in from Caputo. 3-2, where you say it's Titanic, it's over, Juventus is over, is dead. And then we had some kind of awakening with entering of the field of Dybala, Douglas Costa, Rabiot, actually players that people wanted to see them started. Was that right or not? That's a comment for later. But they started the game after too late, actually, after the 60th minute, after I believe it was 65 minutes. They started with change. We were able to score the equalizer with Alexandro after a few changes that we missed with Ronaldo and with Rabiot. 3-3. Is it a good point? If you look at it only from a mathematical standpoints, yes, because we keep the Lazio really far away. We keep Atalanta at 7 points from us, 7 Atalanta, 8 Lazio. Inter is able to come back at -6 this evening. Let's see what will happen there. So mathematically, it's a good point. In terms of mental, in terms of performance, it's a disaster, especially after you win 2-0. A shame. For me, really something that couldn't happen, unexcusable. So players rating, we start immediately with Szczesny, Don't expect beautiful scores except of Chesney with a 7. He saved us a lot of times. He conceded 3 goals, not his fault, but he saved us a lot of times. 7 men of the man, and that's really a problem when you have to give a 7 to your goalkeeper after doing a 3-3. Danilo, 6. Why a 6? Not only because of his first beautiful goal of the game, because he started with a really beautiful goal on his birthday, but also because I was expecting or a really beautiful performance or a disaster, because Kyriakopoulos and Boga were 2 men that were really difficult to man mark for him. He didn't do that bad. He was not exceptional. Let's be clear. It's not a player that I want to see in the future in my team, even if the possibilities are there. But yesterday, if I try to be objective, in my opinion, he was not that disaster. And I'm not giving him a 7, guys. I'm giving him a 6. We continue because it's not over with De Ligt. The guys, he showed that he still have his, because Zapata was not able to smash them the last time. He showed that he still have them. Why? The guy with a big shoulder injury, he showed that he was still there, ready to continue the game. He played until the end, until the 90th minute. Fino alla fine. If there is a player that showed it, it is Matthijs de Ligt yesterday. You clearly saw that after the second time he felt with his shoulder, he was not mentally 100% on the game, but he was fearing his shoulder. He was not able to do a real De Ligt wall performance, but the guy did really well. And then we continue with another player. Let me go back because here I did some mistake with Chiellini. 5.5 for Chiellini. Why? Because the goal is also on him. Bentancur, Alexandro, Chiellini. You see that after 20 minutes, he couldn't anymore. He was dead. He was out. You take your responsibility and you say, Coach, let me out. Let me out. I cannot anymore. He was walking. It was really difficult. Difficult for performance for our captain Chiellini yesterday. Then we have Alexandro, 5.5. Why am I giving him 5.5? Because in the last 15 minutes, he showed that he wanted to, and he was a lot better than in all the previous minutes where he was also him a disaster yesterday. But then he woke up, he gave some offensive support. He from the moment actually that he had that armband, you saw him growing. So 5.5 thanks to the last minutes, because otherwise it would be a really negative score also for Alexandro. Then we have Bentancur with a 5.5. Especially all the time that he played on the right, he was really a disaster. He was invisible, really difficult. Also, the first goal is partially due to him because he's not able to kick that ball away. 5.5 for Bentancur, better as a regista, but absolutely not at the level where we were praising him a lot. Then we have Pjanic, 5 because also of that beautiful assist, but otherwise the guy is walking on the field again, head down. He's looking at the grass. He's playing on the back, so he doesn't deserve much more than that. Matuidi, 5.5 in the first half. He was the less disaster from the midfield, even if he was not good. Let's settle that. Matuidi was not good yesterday, but 5.5 for him because he was not the worst in the first half, and then he was changed, and you clearly saw the difference with the people that sub him. The next one we have Higuain, because we already spoke about Bentancur. Higuain, 5.5. Why 5.5 for him? Because the guy scored a really beautiful goal, but then he disappeared and he was doing nothing more for the team. So 5.5 for Higuain. 6 for Ronaldo, one of the most dangerous men in the front when he was able to have the ball, because that didn't happen that much. Unfortunately, not more than 6 because he missed a lot of occasions. And as a guy, as a Ronaldo, you cannot miss all those changes. 6 for him. Rugani, that was a subdominant. Now we are speaking about the subs. Rugani, I said I would never ever defend him anymore. Today I want to do an exception. Why? Because if the coach Maurizio Sarri is choosing a injured Chiellini or a not ready Chiellini over you, then mentally it's really hard. It's also really hard when the Ligt was about to be changed in the first half, and you see that Bonucci was called to go in and not Rugani. So mentally, how can you show self-confidence about that? So it's really difficult to enter. Unfortunately, he came in. We conceded 2 goals after that. So 5.5 for Rugani, 6 for Rabiot. He tried. He gave a bit of intensity and dynamic to the midfield. He was better than the one that we had as the starters. 6.5 for Paolo. I believe Sarri wanted to rest some players to go in the second half and create the danger, and that was a good tactic for me. Also because Higuain has to win some minutes to play to get again on his shape. So it was not a bad decision if you look at it objectively to not start him, especially because we scored and we were winning 2-0. But too late to come in, and that's on Sarri. On the other hand, he was really dangerous. He started again to change the game. So after Chesney, we have Dybala. 5.5 for Douglas Costa. I was believing, as all of us, that he has 30 minutes in his leg. Yesterday, he was showing that he has only 10 minutes because he was good for 10 minutes, and also him then no creativity, no inspiration. Really difficult end of the game for Douglas Costa. 4 for Ramsey, and that's my last vote before Sarri. Ramsey was a disaster. He played 9 minutes yesterday, but you clearly see that it's the only player of the world that is still in lockdown mentally. I didn't even knew and notice that he entered the field. I didn't know it. I didn't saw it. So really difficult, Ramsey. I cannot defend him anymore. And then we finish with the coach, Maurizio Sarri. 3 for him. I said that the game and the loss versus Milan was not on him. Why? Because you do a team, you win 2-0, and then a blackout happens, and that can happen. I don't think it was due to the coach, but you had to learn your lesson. If it happened 2 games later again versus Sassuolo, then this one is on you. You were not able to mentally prepare your players. That's one. And then the second, you waited way too long for the changes. You had to do it at the 45th minute at the second half, start of second half, to show the opponents, Sassuolo, that we were still in the game, that we wanted to attack, that we wanted to do the 3-1 and not going back and conceded 2 goals. So this one is on you. That defeat is on you, Sarri. And after the game, if you explain that you preferred someone as Chiellini over Rugani when you knew that Chiellini didn't have the 90 minutes, then you are not even respecting your own players. How, if you are not respecting them, how do you want that they respect you? So I finished now with the 5 next game where we have to do 10 points. We have Lazio on Monday. The luck that Juventus has is that Lazio is probably even worse than Juventus at the moment. A real disaster for Lazio. So let's see what will happen there. We have to take the 3 points. And then we have Cagliari, Udinese, Sampdoria, and Roma. Let's see what will happen. I start to be a bit more dubious about the fact that we will win all of them, where I am normally a real positive guy. Now I start to doubt. Let's see what will happen. I'm not happy about the performance of yesterday. I have my serious doubt. I hope that we can win quite early and that the season is over so that we can do some revolution, because Juventus needs it. Thank you. I will still be there supporting. Forza Juve.